Hi everyone, it's Mr. Mortgage. It's July 15th with your California foreclosure report. Finally, some of the national companies released their stuff real early this month, 10th or 11th of the month. But you know, all precincts hadn't even reported in California yet. You know, stuff's still trickling in. Plus there's anomalies in the data that I thought were worth further investigation. This data is courtesy Foreclosure Radar. And I really think by putting data out early, you sacrifice quality. And when this is, you know, when banks are your primary competition, they're the market maker, and the foreclosure and REO market is the market, the quality has to be there. You have to know what's really happening or you're going to get squashed. How do you compete against these banks? So I want to go over it here. First of all, my website is here at ml-implode.com. The original mortgage lender implodometer. If you go there, you'll see a banner with my head on it. Click that, that takes you to my private site, and that's where all the fun is, baby. So check it out. In California, there seems to be a leveling off, and that's what the big companies reported. The big national foreclosure reporting companies reported also, but they didn't explain why, and I think there's reasons for the leveling off that actually may show the market's getting worse. I mean, think about it. If retail sales level off in December, that's bad. They should be surging, right? So that's anomalous to what's happening here. You know, I believe that things were leveling off when they should have been surging. So let me explain that a little bit further. In California, for the second straight month, banks took back over $10 billion. That's huge. Think about it. They take back $10 billion of original loan amounts, attached to the homes, of course, that come back. Most of these were at 80% loan to value when done. If they're lucky, they're going to get 60 cents on the dollar for these things when they turn around and resell it. And that's, no, not on the dollar, I'm sorry, on the new appraised value. They're going to get 60% when they turn around and sell this stuff, which could be 30 to 40% of the original value. So some of these banks, you know, you're taking, 60% hits on your original note amounts when you turn around and sell these things. So $10.2 billion coming back, that's a $6 billion hit across the banks in one state. That's $15 billion nationally. Remember, California makes up 35% of the foreclosure count and 45% of the foreclosure dollar amount on a national level. People try to say on Bubble Vision all the time, oh, it's only happening in a few states, it's not a national problem. When one state makes up 45%, it's a problem, buddy. All there is to it. So keep that in mind. Just think how many second mortgages were wiped out. The first mortgages don't even get paid off. The second mortgages go away. For those like of you who like to follow banks, they're not reserved more than 1 to 3% on average on their home equity line and loan exposure. And 40% of these loans we're seeing come back, have second mortgages attached to them. They're getting wiped out completely. That's a lot of second mortgages to get zero recovery. And there's no way to get it when you're in a negative equity position like that. Think about that. Let's start from step one. Notice of default. That's the first stage in foreclosure after a borrower has typically missed 3 payments. They leveled off. Dropped 2% to 41,500. While that number is still historically at the top of the range, it is statistically insignificant over last month's 43,000. I wish I would have saw that number drop 10,000 or 5,000 even, given the reasons I think it fell. Number one, from January through March, we saw a mini refi boom. I think a lot of people might have worked with lenders and got favorable rates and been able to thwart off walking away or giving up their home because of this. Secondly, about that time, we saw subprime defaults round the top and stabilize, while prime and Alt-A are now surging. So there was a little valley in defaults about that time, and while it changed from subprime over to Alt-A. And I think that's a reason. Also, I think mortgage modifications are much more prevalent now. We have that person on our site that advertises Green Credit Solutions, getgreencredit.com. I mean, they're doing wonderful things for people with mortgage modifications. So I think mortgage modifications are really coming in. And lastly, look what time of the year it is. It's the summer selling season. So I think hope is your final reason why notice of defaults have plateaued. People aren't going to go into default if they're hopeful they'll be able to sell their house this summer selling season. If they don't sell it, what happens? Same thing has happened last year. Values take a tumble in September when sales counts drop. But how are Ma and Pa and me and you going to sell our homes anyway when 40% of all homes sold last month were out of the foreclosure stock, out of the bank REO stock? I mean, look what our competition is. Organic sales between me and you are at an all-time multi-decade low right now. They're down 300% or rather down 60% from 2 years ago. The market between me and you, unless you have a lot of equity in your home and unless you are planning to discount it to keep up with the banks, is almost non-existent out there, despite the reports you see that sales are picking up. Keep that in mind too. It's all in the report you'll find online. Again, this thing is so detailed I have to hold it here and refer to it, but you're also going to have to go onto my site to read the whole thing. I think it's real important. The vast amount of notice of defaults are first mortgages, because second mortgages you can't foreclose on in most cases because there's no equity in the property. 75% of notice of default are now making it all the way to the REO stage, which is way up. In the past 90 days, there's been 129,000 notice of default. It takes about 4 to 5 months for those to turn into bank REO. That means from 2 to 5 months out, another 96,000 homes are going to go back to the bank. This month, only 23,500 went back to the bank. So the data already tell us that bank REO and foreclosures going back to the bank are going to pick up by about 30% in the next 5 months. That's significant. Second stage to a foreclosure, notice of trustee sale. This is what's sent out to you about 30 to, well, it's really about 21 to 45 days prior to them taking your home for auction. That actually picked up 3.6% to 35,000. That's significant because this means fewer people are choosing to cure their notice of default. It used to be a year and a half ago where any number of reasons, you could refinance, you could sell the property, you could borrow money, and people want to stay in their property because they had equity. Now they don't care. They're just walking away. I think that's real significant. This also tells you that notice of default can level out, but foreclosures can still increase because fewer people want to save their home. As a matter of fact, 93% of all notice of default made it all the way to the notice of trustee sale stage. That's a record. It used to be 30% 2 years ago. The homes that sold at auction actually decreased 4.8% to 24,000. This is a real strange read here. Perhaps one or more large banks put a moratorium on foreclosures, or mortgage modifications are working, or a combination of both. But I think there's a lender out there too. I got to go through each bank individually, which we have that data. We make that available for larger investment funds by bank on the foreclosures and the amount of exposure the banks have and they might be taking back. But I have to go through it and look closer because a moratorium by one or more large lenders could have made that number go down when it really shouldn't have gone down. The other numbers ahead of it, the notice of default, notice of trustee sale, don't point to the amount of homes that banks took back last month decreasing. It points to it increasing. One thing that'll make Bubble Vision happy, more people bought homes from the auction last month. Third party buying homes at the auction and fewer went back to the banks. Last month, 3.2% of homes sold at auction versus 2.5% last month. So 96.8% of homes went back to the bank. I'm sure that can be spun into a positive on TV. Discounts were a record. 87% of all homes were discounted by 30%, and 25% of homes were discounted by 50%, and still 96.8% of them went back to the bank. That shows you how dire the situation is with the market. So that's your report. You got to go on and you can read finer details again on the site. Remember, the banks are your main competition. They control the market. 40% of all sales last month in the state of California came from the foreclosure stock. This foreclosure stock, this shadow inventory I call it, is marking to market neighborhoods across the entire nation, literally overnight, throwing people that put 20% down who got a fixed rate loan 2 years ago into a massively negative equity position and increasing their chance of loan default because of negative equity significantly. Remember, subprime loans default primarily because of rate adjustments, Alt-A because of the exoticness of the loan and negative equity, and prime loans because of negative equity. And we're seeing prime and Alt-A start to surge right now. You need to go take a look at this report online. That's it. I want to talk about advertisers on the site because as you've seen on the ML Implode home site, and on my site, you see advertisers specific to what's going on. We get hundreds of emails per week how to help people. We can't help you, but we can advise you the best we can, of course, without getting in trouble. But all the advertisers you see there have been strictly, thoroughly checked out. References called. Okay, these guys support us, of course, so we can continue to bring this information to you for free, right? But they're also out there to really help you. Green credit solutions for your mortgage modifications. Mortgage brokers can also use them. It's kind of a wholesale affiliate program, so you can help your customers and not have to deal with the stresses and the liability of mortgage modifications. You Walk Away helps you walk away from your home legally so this thing doesn't haunt you for the rest of your life. Also perhaps helps in short sales. And CMA helps with debt restructuring and debt settlement to get you out of this stuff if you've got in it. So take a look at our advertisers and support our sponsors so we can keep on bringing you this good, fresh information. If you like this video, please rate it high, guys. Hit those star buttons down there. I still work for stars. Subscribe to my blog when you get there by putting the email address, and also subscribe to this YouTube channel by hitting subscribe below. And always, don't believe the hype.